Hello everyone, welcome back to the Plunder Den. In this week's episode, we're going to be building some crates. So I really wanted to add some scatter terrain to my battle mat and kind of build some kind of plunder for the Plunder Den. And I figured I would do some kind of crates or containers that can flush out the docks a little bit and add some more scatter bits on there that you can hide behind, moving up the docks with the miniatures. And I definitely wanted to have something that I could use in the other games that I wanted to play, Blood and Valor and Blood and Steel, and really a kind of a generic piece of terrain that can be used in all sorts of different things. So let's take a look at the finished product. So I got it all here on these docks. You can see we got a whole bunch of different, I kind of added a few logos on them. You can see one of them is the actual Plunder Den logo. And then I got the East Indian trading companies on another one there, just to kind of add to the atmosphere more of the time period. Now, the reality of it all is that these actually larger crates and stuff weren't actually used in the age of piracy. They would have been 18th century, later in the 18th century, that they actually used this kind of crate. But it makes for good scatter terrain in the game. But if you want to be more historically correct, barrels would be better to be used. That's what was used mostly around that time frame. There are some other things on here that might be a little more historically correct. We got this little basket kind of thing. We got a little... They used to put furs and stuff like that in this kind of cloth. So other stuff here is more historically correct, but some of the stuff isn't. But it's all cargo. Could also be used as objective markers, especially in Blood and Steel. There's that's part of the component of the game. Is one of the objectives is to capture certain things in it. So that could be something that you use. But even in Blood and Plunder, that's also there's also objectives depending on what scenario you're playing. But these also could be used for all sorts of stuff. It could be used for Dungeons and Dragons. They could be used for Warhammer. It could be used for whatever. It's a generic piece of terrain. All right, so that's what we're building in today's episode. The other thing I want to talk about is just a brief update on the global campaign. So we're only 2 weeks left. We're in week 13, and remember, there's a prize to be won. I just got it over here real quick. The medium docks. So if you want to know how to win those docks, check out the Blood and Pigment page or the Firelock Games page on the details under the English faction on how you can win those foreground medium docks bundle from Foreground. So that's one of the prizes. There's a lot of other prizes on there. We're getting near the end of the campaign, so this is your last ditch effort. All the bigger prizes are going to be handed out here soon. So this week's challenge, just want to get this right, is so you essentially use the Cheat Death ability. So you can pay a fortune point if your commander's unit is being destroyed to move over to another jettison unit. You can pay by paying a fortune point. So make sure you keep those fortune coins. So sometimes you need it to save your commander, right? So that's kind of what the is to get the extra points, right, this week. Of course, you get extra points for training new players and other stuff, but the other details are in there. In the Blood and Pigment page, and just check out on the campaign and what you need to do. But like I said, there's only 2 more weeks left. All right, so that's pretty much it for that. If you guys like what we're doing here in the Plunder Den, make sure you smash that like button and consider subscribing to the Plunder Den and get first-hand information when I start these kind of projects. All right, everyone, let's get down to the table and let's start painting and let's start crafting. Okay, let's start by going through some of the materials I used. I got some foam blocks here. We have some balsa wood. We have different types of balsa wood. So we got some more square-shaped ones. These are flat pieces of balsa wood. Got those all from Amazon. The foam is from Home Depot. We got our little squares and stuff. This is from the dollar store. It's just hobby wood. We got some matchsticks, popsicle sticks. Those are coffee stir sticks. I also got from the dollar store. I really like those ones because they're very thin. We've got some twine there, a little bit of fish netting going on there. All sorts of things that we're going to use for this. So I started off with these pieces of balsa wood, and I kind of had the idea of maybe gluing them in stacks to make kind of like a chest or some kind of a cargo case that has like wooden planks on it. Of course, I'm gonna have to cover the ends because it just looks like a bunch of sticks glued together. So I was thinking just putting some flat pieces on here. But really, this is early stages of kind of just planning it out. I knew I wanted to build crates, but I didn't quite know exactly how I was going to build them. So this is really just me kind of exploring different ideas. So I thought of cutting them into smaller pieces. So I get different size crates. I got long ones. I got kind of a more of a square chest one. And then, of course, I always have my miniatures to see, okay, if I stack two on top of each other, will it look like a proper cover? Always considering the gameplay involved in these terrain pieces. So then I cut those flat pieces of balsa wood into strips. And what I wanted to use those for is like kind of the detailing on these chests and stuff. Kind of the planks that go the opposite way to connects it all together. So I was figuring that that's how I was going to do it, was that skinnier balsa wood. I didn't want to have something that's too large and fat, like kind of like a toothpick or something like that, or it would just stick out too far. So I went with a flat balsa wood. And then I used those larger square pieces and kind of glued them together. It was kind of ideas of making some kind of crates. And then I was using some foam. I was going to do a foam crate. So I kind of had different options going on here. These are kind of some of the failed ones that didn't work. That didn't work out at all. I even tried doing with just foam. I'm like, you know what? I figured that would just be too cartoonish and it wouldn't look right. So I kind of abandoned that idea. But I do end up using that other foam block there. So this is those coffee stir sticks I was talking about from the dollar store. They're really nice and thin. So I'm going to use them to frame out these boxes. So once I glued those 4 pieces or 6 pieces together, just kind of to make a frame. And then I kind of framed out the edges with these coffee stir sticks. So you can see I made a whole bunch of different sizes, boxes, essentially just some different size crates that I was going to make. So this is after I've added all those coffee stir sticks, kind of had different patterns on it. You have a plank pattern on one side, and I kind of did these cross beams just to make it look like a crate, what you expect to see on a crate. So I got that just your kind of standard shape. I kind of do that for the medium-sized ones too, but then the small ones I kind of just left no support beam in the middle because I wanted to put those logos that I ended up putting on the front. All right, so this is after I've kind of completed a few on here. I haven't decided what to do with that one yet at this point, but you can see these are the ones I was planning on putting the logos on, so I left the cross beam off it. Again, miniatures in there just to kind of see if everything looks right, it's the right size, and everything is playable in here. Just want it to be too large. Now, it ended up, like I mentioned before, these aren't historically correct. They would have used these crates later on. But it makes good for good scatter terrain, good places to hide. You can have a warehouse effect or the docks being just full of stock and cases and stuff like that. So still, again, I wasn't decided what I was going to do with those 2 pieces at this point, but I do end up deciding to put material on those at some point here. So then I decided to want to do like a basket kind of crate. Just something you would put fruit or just loose potatoes or something in. So I kind of got that flat balsa wood again, kind of made some bases and some sides. So I decided to do 2. So I got more of a square-shaped one and more of a rectangle. Now, those are matchsticks. I use them as framing. Now, by the way, I put everything together with white glue, the tacky glue, and that's how I put everything together. It glues fairly fast, and you're able to work with it pretty well. So this is after I glued the 2 corners on, then I put the 2 ends on those matchsticks, as you can see there. And then I started doing kind of like a lattice work on the outside to give it that real basket look to it. So this is kind of tedious work. You could do a lot of these things probably 3D printed, but there's certain satisfaction about doing it handmade. So then I want to put some hinges or decorative lock devices on the front of these chests. And I'm going to go back to what I used from the hinges on the Spanish Mission. I'm going to use these clippings from this clearance jewelry I got at Michael's to just glue it on. So I cut just a section of it that looked like kind of like a hinge, and then I'm just going to glue that on there. So this is after I've completed the baskets. We got the hinges put on these chests. You can see I got different varieties that I put on here. We got our big crates completed, our medium-sized ones and large ones, and then we got our last two here. So I'm going to use the same material I use for my sails. That's stuff from Walmart, just cheap material, and that's some of that freaky fabric. But how I'm going to put this on there, I do put a little bit of white glue on there, but I mostly just paint it on with the black craft paint. And it's kind of like how I did the wigwam. I just kind of paint it over top of it, and it just sticks to the case. So this is after I've added all the black craft paint to this, and you can see that the fabric's stuck on there now. It'll be good for painting. I left it dry for 24 hours. I like to be nice and dry before I start doing dry brushing and other stuff on top of here in the painting portion of this. So we're gonna kind of really briefly go through the basic colors here. So real brown, bark brown, Pueblo, and camel. I essentially use a big paintbrush, and I really kind of like I did the bark. I really brush really hard on all these pieces. That's why another reason why I want it to be dry and solid before I start going really hard on there. So I really just wanted to dry brush all these. So I really just kind of have a little bit of paint on the brush, and I really tap it. So this is after I've added all those colors to it. You can see it's got a nice weathered wood look to it, similar to when I painted the bark. It had that nice weathered wood look to it. So that's kind of a good base or a good starting point before we start adding our weathering to it or add some different colors to these things. This is a good base. That's why I like using these 4 colors, craft paint colors. They really are a good earth tone base to a lot of things. It gives you a really kind of a dingy look to things. So that's that skeleton horde there. We got Agrax Earth Shader. We got Skeleton Bone, and we got Ash Gray, Necromancer Cloak, and Black. So these are all the colors I'm going to use to kind of age the wood. And we're going to kind of take a few pit stops here on a few of these colors and show you how I somewhat apply them. So right here, I started with the Necromancer Cloak. I like to add this gray look to it. Kind of gives you, kind of when you see a container move around a lot, it kind of gets this dirty look to it because it's been dragged around on dirty floors or warehouses, or in this case on ships, on docks, and you get these dirty marks on them. So I just wanted to add that in there first with this Necromancer cloak. It's a great color for that, or any kind of aging of wood that you want to do. I really recommend that color. It's Army Painter paint. I really like that one. So I do all the pieces the same way. This is after I've done that. So now I'm going to move that skeleton horde contrast. And I'm just going to touch certain areas. I'm very strategic about putting contrast paint on. I don't put it all over the entire piece. I just want to hit certain areas. So it implies there's stains or dirty marks on different places of it. I don't want the whole thing to be one color. You're gonna ruin all those great colors that we already added on. We just want it to be kind of an accent in certain spots. So different sides, I put different amounts and however I feel it should be on there. So now the Earth Shader, Agrax Earth Shader is more of a darker color. And we're going to hit some of the edges in here and just put some extra grime in there. You hit some of the corners and just really dirtying up those boxes. This is a great color for that. I've been using a lot of this now on a lot of my pieces and even my miniatures. I love this Earth Shader. It's really a dark in color. It really makes it look really grimy, and I really like the effect of it. So this is kind of how I apply it. Again, very strategic. I don't cover the entire piece. It's just more of just hitting certain areas that I think that there would be a little bit more grime on. So I'm going to go through all the pieces and do the exact same thing. So now we're going to lighten up the center of these boxes. So I got some skeleton bone and some ash gray. Lighter gray is kind of implying the wood is aging, and same with that. I wanted to have a little more of a tan color, so I went with that skeleton bone. And I'm just going to hit different planks and add a little bit of lightness to it. You can see I got some gray on that one case, and then now I'm adding a little bit of that skeleton bone. And I just kind of go all through these pieces and add just variations to the wood planks. Some of them are aged older than others, and a little bit lighter in the center. And now we're moving to adding a little bit more color to these pieces. I'm using a speed paint right now, hardened leather, and that's really what I'm doing, these little straps, and I'll show you in a sec there. Hardened leather. I really like that speed paint for aging wood. I ended up using a little bit of dark wood as well, not as much as the hardened leather, and then some matte black for the logos I'm going to paint on. Then I add a little bit of green, maybe some algae or some plant life or whatever's growing on here. And so I add that, just to add more grime to it. Alright, so this is after. You can see I've got all the kind of the bands on those cases all done. Got different variations of colors. I've added some green to that fish netting on the one piece. That skeleton bone, I even used some on that other, the one with the material on to lighten it up a little bit. I'm just showing you the hinge there. I had some gunmetal and some dry rust on it. I actually end up putting some greedy gold on the top of it too as well, just to add a little bit more metallic color. And then I'm going to add some more of that earth shader over top of it so that my metal's not so bright. And then I hit that fish netting again with some jungle green, going even with a lighter green. And then I showed you the black because I haven't put the logos on yet, but I will paint those on. Alright, so let's go down to the battle mat and let's take a look at the finished product. So you can see all the logos. I put that East Indian Trading Company on some of them, and some of them I put the Plunder Den symbol on it. And really, that's where the design came from. Was wanting to be like a stamp on a crate. My logo for the channel here. Let's get a good look at some of those other crates. There's one with the Plunder Den on it. Logo back there. I'm really happy how the weathering went on these. They look fantastic. And they're great cover for going up the docks here. We were playing fortifications when I made this episode, and I figured, well, I need some cover to get up this dock. This crazy dock system I got going on here to attack the Spanish stone tower that's the end there. We got Captain Morgan here and his buccaneers trying to raid that stone tower. But definitely needed some cover, so this would be a good opportunity to use those crates and put them all over the docks. There's our wall again, our seawall that we built in the last episode. Just kind of all these components working together as one complete project. Alright, so that's it for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.